Let's talk about what causes failure in agile projects. What are the pitfalls? So one of the most common observation has been adding stories after the sprint has started during the progress of the sprint. And this is just one of those notions where the product owner or the sponsor starts thinking that it's agile, so we can just add in stories as needed. Yes, while it's true that you can add features as you like, but to the backlog and not to a running sprint while it's in progress, because that's one key criteria. The time box in a scrum has to be respected, and if there is a major reason why there should be a change in terms of priority, why something should be done ahead of those in progress, then termination of the sprint can be executed, and reprioritization of the backlog, and then the new more critical stories can be put into the sprint and restart the sprint. However, if sprint is currently running, then it's never a good idea to push stories into it. But of course, sometime if there are certain stories that were picked up for the sprint and somehow it got done sooner than expected and there's still a little time left in the time box, then the team is free to pull certain stories from the backlog, and probably that's where the product owner can help in choosing one over the other if there is a higher priority item that came in. Lack of sponsor support in large organization trying to move from methods like waterfall into scrum. A lot of time it so happens that the company wants to be doing the latest technologies, latest methodologies, want to be known for doing scrum. However, the sponsors are not capable of handling the expectations of the large organizations or the bosses, and the team is left on its own to deal with the challenges. That's never a good idea. So to have a successful scrum implementation, there has to be commitment and support from the sponsors at various level of the organization, and the necessary rules of agile should be respected and followed. One of the other most commonly seen issue is companies move into agile assuming that there's not going to be much of a rule, which is not the case. So agile is a lightweight process. However, it has specified rules, specified methods to follow, and a good amount of training is critical, especially because agile is not so much of just a methodology, but more of a mind shift, more of an way of approaching the problem and delivering. And it requires a lot of training and a lot of answering, mentoring to make the team ready to do it right. And just jumping into it without training, without support, without mentoring can be a recipe for failure, which we see time and again. Product owner is the most important role in a agile project, and a lot of time people are made product owners purely out of so many other reasons than them being capable of fulfilling the role as it demands to be. It's probably one of the most demanding role also. And choosing a wrong product owner is definitely a recipe for failure. So you need to make sure the product owner is committed, has enough time to help doing what is expected of a product owner, and supportive of the team and the success of the project. Now, one common problem, which is not necessarily for Agile but practically for anything, would be the team not being focused on the project at hand, especially if they are assigned to multiple projects and other organizational roles, and they just don't have enough time and enough attention to the project, especially in Agile team, which is not so much about just doing their part of the work, but collaborating and working together to make each iteration successful, where each member as a part of the team has to not only do their own assignment but also collaborate with others, and pick up any area that needs attention. So 100% attention is critical. So assigning a person in multiple projects, multiple Scrum teams, is definitely not a good idea. So focused team members are key to the success. Sometimes getting into too much planning, over planning, is actually futile. It gets into people losing attention, and it doesn't ensure. In fact, in Agile, just enough is the word. So just enough written requirement, just enough discussion for the team to understand what needs to be done, and just enough testing to get it out of the door and make it usable and valuable, the key criterias. So doing anything more than what is needed is definitely not helpful. Now, one of the key mistakes that I have seen in a lot of new Scrum team is basically using the daily Scrum meeting as a problem solving meeting or something like that. So when someone says, I have this impediment or I'm stuck here, and then everyone tries to discuss it, and the 15-minute meeting starts elongating into an hour, and people start sitting down, and so definitely not a good idea. So it's necessary to stick to that 15 minutes rule, stand-up meeting rule, for the just defining those 3 questions of what did I do since last Scrum meeting, what am I going to do till the next Scrum meeting, and if any impediment that I need help in removing so that I can move faster. Anything other than that should probably go to a separate meeting, perhaps with the appropriate person, rather than wasting time of the entire team is always a good idea. One of the other most commonly seen issue is companies move into Agile assuming that there's not going to be much of a rule, which is not the case. So Agile is a lightweight process. However, it has specified rules, specified methods to follow, and a good amount of training is critical, especially because Agile is not so much of just a methodology, but more of a mind shift, more of an way of approaching the problem and delivering. And it requires a lot of training and a lot of answering, mentoring to make the team ready. Now, Scrum Master's role is like a guide, someone who ensures the process is being done, facilitates the meeting, etc. Becoming a contributor, becoming a technical resource can create certain problems. So it's not like totally forbidden to be one, but the role of the scrum master of being the facilitator has to be maintained first before getting into contributing for the technical and other ends if needed. Now, one common problem, which is not necessarily for Agile but practically for anything, would be the team not being focused on the project at hand, especially if they are assigned to multiple projects and other organizational roles, and they just don't have enough time and enough attention to the project, especially in Agile team, which is not so much about just doing their part of the work but collaborating and working together to make each iteration successful, where each member as a part of the team has to not only do their own assignment but also collaborate with others and pick up any area that needs attention. So 100% attention is critical. So assigning a person in multiple projects, multiple scrum teams, is definitely not a good idea. So focused team members are key to the success. Technical debt is a metaphor often used in Agile as certain things that certain technical, certain design elements that has not been solved right from the beginning, and it need not be solved at the beginning to give way to progress, to give way to building it. However, they do need to be refactored and built in as the team progresses. Otherwise, like a debt, not only the principal but the interest builds up and can become a major obstacle more you progress without attending it. So definitely the team has to be conscious about the technical debt, the lacking architectural features, design features that needs to be addressed and kept eye on it to progressively deal with it as they move forward. Attempting to take up too much in a single sprint or a few sprint is not a good idea. The whole concept of Agile is built around sustainable velocity, something the team can comfortably do without getting burned out, getting exhausted. So ideal velocity should be built in to the team per sprint and continued on thereafter for a very long period of time. So managing the amount of work in progress is critical to ensure this. And one of the last item that I would like to talk about, this I have seen and dealt with so often. It's trying to do Agile while still trying to go for fixed time, fixed resource, and quality. Of course, quality is paramount, but trying to fix all of this element and then keep adding and changing the scope, like how Agile is done, can be very difficult. So if the scope is changed, then you can still work with a fixed time frame, like a certain delivery date, but you have to consider other factors. Perhaps some amount of cost can go up. Maybe there's a need for having a larger team, or cutting down on certain scope that are not necessary or that's not as valuable in favor of the new features that has been identified to be released on that specific deadline, while the others can follow on subsequent deliveries. So these are quite a change in thinking from coming from a waterfall method, and a lot of training needs to be done from top to bottom so that all the stakeholders are aware of the value of agile and why it's done that way and how it produces better value for everyone, instead of considering success or failure purely on the basis of budget, time, and all the scopes that are added in to be done. That would be all for this section. Thank you very much.